Yeah, good evening, guys. Started the recording. Today's session is going to be an awesome one, because we will take a deep dive into introduction of the language JavaScript. And if you go through your LMS, let me put this. Let me bring this here. Okay. So we have two. Let me go back and look at the journey map. So we have the first module is running JavaScript. Where and how. I think we've covered this in the last lesson. That's last weekend. So this weekend we'll do variables. That's today we're going to do variables and data types, operators and comparisons. We'll do functions. We'll also look at arrays. We'll see if we can cover objects. So basically, I wish to cover all of module 1 in this session. Then tomorrow we'll cover all of module 2. Because it has DOM manipulation, we'll be doing HTML, CSS along with JavaScript. So you see how the three guys work together. So basically that's what we'll be doing in tomorrow's session. That's will cover off module 2. Module 3, we'll take module 3 along React. So hopefully by next weekend, we'll still do like a capstone project on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then we'll do introduction to React. So we'll then pick React alongside with module 3, because that's where it's going to make more sense. Yeah, we'll do React alongside with module 3 and module 4, all at the same time. And then once we'll now do another capstone project. And I think that will give us like a good ground into launching into the AI side of things. So I believe, or what I feel or think is, if maybe you guys can also like make time to go through these notes. Most importantly, practice. That's the most important part, right? So that's basically what we're going to cover today. So let me take this out of my screen and leave my timeline here. So yeah, let me zoom in this guy a bit. So as usual, on every call, we'll be using the terminal, so we'll get used to it. So the first thing to do is to check your current working directory, PWD. So it's showing me that I'm still at the root of my system. So from here, so even once you do PWD, see you're the root, you could do LS. Now I can see the folders. We have application, desktop, documents, downloads, movies. These are like all the folders on my root device. But I want to navigate to desktop, so CD into desktop. So on desktop, this is the file I want to access, the folder rather, right? So I could just go straight desktop. So I could do / and then that was the folder. Once you hit enter, your current, we are in that folder. So next we'll open that folder with, no, I'm not using cursor, with VS Code. Let's do code. Yeah, so we have this opened up with VS Code. So yeah, in our last session, we created this folder called lesson 2, and then all our learnings, we saved this code snippet in lesson 2, and we're using the branch lesson 2. So yeah, you can as well check all the branches in your current repo. It's just you type git branch, just git branch alone. Yeah, these are all the different branches. We have the main, lesson 1. This was where we kept our lesson 1 content. Lesson 2, and this just like the default branch, which is the main, right? So you can as well check out into, let's check out to lesson 1 to see what we did. So you could do git checkout. So you don't need to pass a -b, right? Remember, we pass a -b when we want to create a new branch. We'll do that shortly, but let's just check out into lesson 1, right? Oh, sorry, there was a typo with the checkout. Oh, let me see, git check out lesson one. Okay, that's wrong. Let me see. Okay, I think there are some changes within commit git push origin. So I just want to clear my terminal. Okay, so let me check out now. So just do git checkout to lesson one. So you can now see we are in branch lesson one. So see the content you have now is lesson one, right? So once you even type git branch, sorry, once you type git branch, you can see lesson one is the one with the asterisk to show you that this is the current active, sorry, the current active. Yeah. So once you type git branch, you can see all the branches as well. The one with the asterisk means that's the one you're currently on, right? So once you can switch with git, just git checkout lesson two, you see to switch to lesson two. See the lesson, the folder also switch, right? Git branch, as you see the asterisk is now on lesson two to show you that you're currently on lesson two, right? So yeah, let me check. Let's just do a quick recap of lesson one. So in lesson one, we talked about, this was where we learned HTML and CSS. Then for CSS, we tried the inline and the external CSS. We tried adding images. This was an external file. We said this is like a typical CSS declaration. You have the property and the value, right? Just the property and the value. So we connected it using this line. We talked about all these things. We said these are tag, this is an opening tag. The one with the forward slash is the closing tag. But all of these things together makes an element. That's opening plus content in between plus the closing tag makes an element. So that was what we did in lesson one. So let's check out lesson two. So for lesson two, we looked at JavaScript. We also looked at Git and GitHub. We learned basically how to write our JavaScript, where to write it, and how to run it. So we talked about a couple of methods to write our JavaScript. We said you can write it in the cons on your browser, right? You inspect, you have access to the console, and then here you can write all your JavaScript and do things like this be equal to, let's say, 20. No, that's 20. We'll say things like, let's see now equal to A plus B. We'll console, sorry, console dot log the value of C, and it will give us 25. So we also discussed that JavaScript basically was built or is meant for the browsers, right? Initially, it was just built to run only in the browsers. So, but with the introduction of Node.js, which is a JavaScript runtime, it allows us to run JavaScript outside of the browser. So to run the file, we said make sure you're in that folder where you have it. We do pwd to always check where you are. So currently we are not in lesson two, so we could navigate cd into lesson two. This is the folder, and then so if you do our ls, you can see the JavaScript file here. Then to run a JavaScript file, you just use node and run the file. You can see the output from this. Right. So yeah, basically that was what we did in lesson one and lesson two. So today we are going to be covering the whole fundamentals of JavaScript, right? So yeah, let me check out to the main branch. So from the main branch, uh, yeah, in the main branch. So from the main branch, we can then check out to want to create a new branch, Git branch. We'll call this one lesson 3. So we are now in a new branch called lesson 3. Can check, just type Git branch. These are the branches. This is our current branch. You see it highlighted. Sorry, you see it with the asterisk sign at the beginning. So this is where we'll be doing today's work. So I'll create a new folder and call this folder lesson_3. Okay, another quick thing, right? I don't want the content of lesson 2 to be in this branch, so I can delete this folder. Right? Let me delete this. So yeah, this is the cool part of GitHub now. I deleted this folder, but this folder still exists. This folder still exists. Let me show you guys something. Let me commit my changes. Removed lesson 2 folder. Just okay, I need to go back one step. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I just want to show something real quick. Push. Yeah, so I deleted that folder, but if I check out, let me do git checkout to, I want to switch to our lesson 2 branch. You see that folder is there, but I deleted it in branch 3. So basically, those are like the importance of working with GitHub, right? So it just helps you track things. So now if I switch to Git to lesson 3 branch, you see it's no longer there because I deleted. I don't want you to be part of this branch I am working on. Remember when we talked about GitHub, when we are trying to link it to a tree with stem, could say a branch could hold different things or different amount of fruits that are different from another branch and all. So a branch can be a future. You build your future there and then can sync it into the main branch. A branch can hold things that are independent from other branches, right? So that once you navigate in each of those branches, you see specifically what was built in that branch. It just allows you to manage things, right? Just like if I check out to lesson 1, we see only lesson 1 folder. So if I check out to lesson 2, we are seeing lesson 2 folder. So I want it that if I check out to lesson 3, yeah, well, let's create lesson 3 folder now. We can call this lesson_3. So all the work we do today basically are going to be saved in this lesson 3 folder. Yeah, so let me create the file. Let me call this lesson_3. Remember, for JavaScript, the extension is .js, right? We talked about comments, right? Comments say there are non-executable lines of code, remember. So I'll be using comment as well, so that I'll leave some notes here. Remember when we are doing HTML, we said for HTML, you give comments. This is how to write your comments. Then write in the comment here. So this is a HTML comment. If you have forgotten, it's just a quick, we will just switch to branch 1. And then we can see that here. So yeah, see these are comments in HTML. So yeah, let me switch back. 3. So for JavaScript, this is how we also write comment 2/. So basically, so yeah, this is just a simple JavaScript comment. So what we intend to cover in this session, we intend to look at sorry, we intend to look at number one, variables. Number two, we'll look at let me see, data types. Interesting. Yeah, let me take data types. We'll look at operators, yes. We'll look at control flow. Yeah, it's a good one, but I don't think let's be able to cover this. Let me just put it there. Number five, we'll look at functions. And then number six, we'll look at objects and arrays. Let me do arrays first. Arrays. Let me do arrays and objects. Yeah. So basically, this is what I hope we are able to cover in this session. So already we understand. We started in our last session. We talked about what JavaScript was. Is the guy that puts the brain to our HTML and CSS. We said is the key, is most times being referred to as king of the web, something like that. So because it's the one that brings life into the web, right? That's why sometimes being referred to as king of the web. And then how we can run it, we discussed that, and how we can write it, the different ways we can write it. We talked about the using it as an external file or writing it in a HTML file inline and then internal, right? So, but today, basically what we are doing is we'll be using the external side of things we'll be using the external approach, basically, right? And then how are we going to be running it? We'll be running it in the terminal using Node.js, right? So remember, I have two ways we can run JavaScript, either running it on web. So if we are running it on the web, it means we are introducing HTML, or running it using a JavaScript runtime called Node. So yeah, so we'll be using Node.js to be running our JavaScript. Yeah, so let's start with variables. So basically, what are variables? What are variables? What? So what are variables? So look at variables like a placeholder. Yeah, you can see variables as a placeholder. You can look at variables, yeah, a placeholder works, or a labeled box, or you can look at it as a labeled box, such that or a name of something, basically. Now, my name is Samuel. Samuel is like the word Samuel. Let's look at it like a variable name. And then if you call Samuel, I show up. Like once you call Samuel, definitely I'm going to show up because my name is Samuel. So just look at a variable as a labeled box, right? You put something inside of the box and then you give it a name. And then you use that name whenever you need that thing that's inside of it. If you look at the examples when we're trying to run JavaScript in the browser, I was doing things like let a be equal to 5 and let b be equal to let's say 50, for example. Then I could do say let c be equal to a plus b, right? So now anytime I say, so once I do something like let me do console.log c, I don't want to print c. So console.log basically is a function, it's like a method. I don't want to be using those words now. But I'm trying to use a layman approach to explain what console.log means. Yeah, console.log could be like a method. No, it's still technical. It's a function. No, I don't want to use for method or function. Look at it like a servant, right? That does a particular thing. And what this guy does is he just print things for you in the console, like in he just output things in the console, right? You can pass in anything you want it to pass here, right? I could pass like the value of a is then is a. Okay, leave me alone to complete. Yeah, so basically, once I now run this file, node lesson 3.js, that did not work. We had this error in our last session. Can anybody quickly unmute and tell me what you think is wrong? Looking at the error logs, like, can you tell me what you think is wrong? What did I do wrong here from our last session? Somebody still had this issue and dropped this question. I think it was that in a group and I replied. So it's possible you'll be encountering errors like this. Then how to resolve them becomes like the main, that's what actually makes you an engineer, right? So how can we go about this? Any idea? How we can debug this? Okay, let me just look at the error message is cannot find module, that they cannot find this thing. So if you cannot find it, then it's obviously two things. I'm not calling the right thing, or I'm not in the right folder, and then I'm running that command. So I'll just do my pwd to first confirm where I am. Right? If I go up, pwd is telling me that I am in the root folder ICT but this file is inside the folder called lesson 3, right? So it means I need to navigate inside lesson 3 before I can run that file. See, it works now. The value of a is 5. A is 5. A is just a variable. So anytime you call a, it means you're referring to 5. Anytime you call b, it means you're referring to 50. Let me run this again. You can see b is 50. Anytime you call c, it means you're referring to the value of a plus b. So let's see, which is 55, as you can see here, right? So basically, that's in while building, you're going to be naming things in your project. A situation where maybe you're trying to even collect somebody's name. You're trying to collect somebody's name, you could give variables like, or maybe, could give variables like name is equal to Samuel, right? Then I can do things like console the value of name. So let me run this. See, the value of name is Samuel. So these are like placeholders. So do let the person's age be equal to let's say 50. 50. So this, or you could as well do let gender be equal to male. So all these are variables. This is a variable name. This is a variable name. This is a value. This is the value of this variable. So anytime you call console.log name, what is going to be printed in your console is somewhere. Console.log age, what will be printed is this. Console.log gender, what will be printed is somewhere. But if you want to print all these things, let's say maybe you have something like let first name be John, and then let last name be to. We could do something like console.log full name. So this plot in this case, you call it concatenation. That's the word for it. Concatenation here is like you're bringing things together. You're not necessarily adding them like 2 plus 2, 4. It's like you're doing something like bring first name, bring second name. And then if you notice this, like full name column, first name will then appear, and now put in a space and then last name. Let me print this so you see. So let's say do know this guy. See, full name is John Doe. Let me remove this space in between here. So you see what will happen then. Let me run this again. See, full name John Doe. That space is no longer there. So, but there's still another approach of doing the same thing, right? You could do something like console.log full name. Yeah. You see full name, see there's first name, last name. You see there's a backtick. Backtick is your keyboard somewhere around where you have the escape button. Yeah, just below your escape button. So this is a backtick, full name. We now use the $sign and then this curly bracelet, passing the first name, passing the last name. This method of writing is called template literals. 99% of the time while building, this is what you'll be using, template literals. You see, it actually looks neater than this. No plenty addition signs, no plenty quotation signs and all. Just this. All right, let me comment this first line. So you see, let me run it. You still see it produce the same output. Full name, first name, last name. So yeah, this approach, this is template literals, and then this is the approach of concatenation. So those are like the two ways you can output these values, right? Yeah. So back to our variables. So for variables, we have different ways of declaring a variable. So this is let. You use the keyword let, right? There's another one you can call it const. Let me say const age equal to 40, right? Const. So let me print this guy. Now there are two, we are still using the same two approach here. This is the approach of concatenation. Console.log age, you see, plus age, concatenation. Console.log backtick age, then you pass in your variable. This is the template literal approach, right? Let me run this. You can see it here. Age is 30. See all the two approaches. This was like the first one, second one, third, and then the fourth. First, second, third, and then the fourth, right? So you can either use let or const to as the keyword to declare your variable, right? But what's the difference between these two? Let and const. Const is almost like a constant. When you want to declare something that will not change, you call it a constant. For example, now let's say, let me comment all these guys. Let me say, for example, so here now we are doing difference between const and let, right? So yeah, basically these are like the difference. So for const, it cannot be reassigned, but let can be reassigned. What does this mean? What this means, for example, let me say I say, okay, let city is equal to New York, right? I can come down here and change city to be equal to Los Angeles. Or let me say I come down and say city equal to, let me use our cities. We have let city initially, okay, I say initially let the city equal to be Abuja. Down my project, project, I'm not like, why no, let me change this thing. I don't want my city to be Abuja again, my city to be Lagos. This is valid. At this point, I have renamed it. So that's the concept of reassignment. I've reassigned the city from Abuja to Lagos. Let me print this here. So let's see, console.log city. Let me come down here again and do console.log city again. So we can see what I am referring to. Let me remove this and this and save this. So initially I'm saying city is equal to Abuja, right? So if I console.log it, what I expect to see on this first city, let me call this city 1. I expect to see here is Abuja. I now came down here and say, city should be equal to Lagos. So let's print it and see if the value of city has changed, right? So let me clear my screen and run. Yes, you see city 1, initially city was Abuja. Down the line, city be changed to Lagos. But const cannot be reassigned. This one, const you cannot reassign this one. Let's talk about this later. You cannot reassign this. Let me give an instance. Let's say I change this keyword from let to const. So what I mean here is the city should remain Abuja. Value of city should not change, right? Okay. So if I come down my code base and I now want to rechange, I now say, no, I want to change city from Abuja to Lagos. It will throw an error. Let's see. Let me run this and see. You can see it here. See the error. City equal to Lagos. So it's throwing an error right on this line. Let me remove. See, this will throw an error because city is a const. It's now saying assignment to constant variable. This is a type error. You cannot reassign a constant value. Once you use the keyword const, it means it is going to remain like that throughout the project. You are not supposed to change it. But if you use let allows you to reassign things, right? Basically, yeah, that's like the difference between const and let. There's another keyword used called val, but this guy is outdated. Val country. So you are not even advised to use this or even ever use this thing again. So let's not even talk about it. But yeah, just for knowledge sake, there was an older approach of doing this called val, right? But I've grown past that stage now, so no longer doing that. So yeah, basically this is just what variables are, and then these like the two keywords in declaring your variables. Either you use let or you use const, right? Yeah, and then that's like the difference between those two guys. So yeah, another thing we'll quickly look at is data types. What's the data? Here I said first name is John. John is a data here. The last name is Doe. This is a data. Age is 40. This is a data. If I add maybe let gender equal to, let gender equal to let's say male. This is another data. All these things are data. Yeah, gender, good to use const because my gender cannot change. I'm a male, to give me. Yeah, and I'll remain a male. If it was a female, it's a female, and that person will remain a female, basically, except otherwise. But we're not talking about otherwise, right? So yeah, these values are what you refer to as data, right? And then data has different types. You have different types of data. A name, for example, that's letters, combination of letters, you wrap them in quotation like this. This data type you refers to as a string. They are strings. That refers to as a string, right? So if you look at the next one we have here, this one does not have quotation. So this one we refer to it as a number, right? So we have string, we have number two to be number, right? So there are also commands you can use to check a data type. Let me comment everything that's up here. Let me comment this too so that it will not appear when I come to log. So we see the first one is string. Let's remember I have something like let first name equal to John Doe. You could do something like console dot log type of. So type of, it's a keyword that tells you the type of this variable. What data type is this? Let's run this and see the type of. You see, it's a string. It's telling us that this data type is of type string. So let's say maybe we have let age let age equal to 40, and then we can as well do the data type of age. Let me run this. You can see it's a number, right? But there's one very funny thing people make. There's one funny mistake people make at times, right? Let's say maybe I come to this place and put this number quotation. As long as I put this number, this double quotation, it is no longer a number. It's no longer data type number. It is now data type of string, right? Let me run this so you see. Node lesson 2, you see it's type of string. So basically, once you put a quotation mark around a number or any data type, as good as you have just changed it from being a number to a number, right? Being a number to a string, right? So if I remove this guy, this quotation mark, now this guy will become data type of what? Number. So there's another one we call, let me comment this guy. We also have a boolean. A boolean. Booleans are just true or false, right? So it's either true or false. Is he a male or is he a female? So why do you need to know all those data types? Because there are times where if you're building, you'll be writing algorithms to check different things. Like, okay, if this is of, let's say maybe it can even be from user input. You have an input field where you want the person to supply strings or to supply a number, and then the person then puts in like a string. You could build like an algorithm. Okay, if this is of type, if this is not of type number, tell this guy that, oh, what you did here was wrong, something like that, right? So you could use all of these data types to build in algorithms, basically. So then let me put this guy to so we'll see. PP. All right. Then let me run this. You see, this is type Boolean. So it can either be true or it can be false. Oops. It can be false. Yeah, it can be false. So you can build an algorithm. Let's say maybe you have a feature that is meant strictly for male, and then you now check is male true or false. If it is true, do this. If the sign up user was a female, then do this. Right. So yeah, we have a lot of different data types. Then we also have we looked at string, numbers, booleans, what am I missing? Null, undefined, array, object. So yeah, we have null, you have could have undefined, could have object. So you could have objects, objects. We can have arrays. So, but these two, we treat them as standalone. If you notice, I added them here. Arrays and object. So then when you're talking about null, so you can intentionally set something to be null. Null just simply means nothing, right? So maybe you could set by default, you could say, okay, um, let sign in, for example, let's say sign in user to be equal to null. So by default, I'm saying that nobody has signed into my application. Then maybe down my algorithm, if somebody logged in, I can then, because I'm using let, I can reassign the value that, oh, okay, sign in user is now John Doe. It's no longer null. Somebody has signed in and then this is the person. Or sign in user is Samuel. Sign in user is this person. So you can always reassign things. So that's like the importance of let now, right? So, but if you're building constant values, remember that's when you use const, right? So you can not just simply means nothing. It means nothing. So you can, yeah, nothingness or nothing. You could just set its particular variable to be null intentionally, so that maybe down the line you could just use it to update, or yeah, you could just update that variable, right? Then we have undefined. So for undefined, let's say maybe you define a variable, but you never give it a value. Let's say maybe I do something like maybe let last name. So yeah, I've defined this guy, but I didn't give it a value. What is last name? It's undefined. I did not define the value of last name, right? So you could do maybe console.log type of last name. Let's say we run this. You can see it's coming in as what? Undefined. You did not define it, but it's a variable, right? Yeah, so basically, I think those are like the data types. Yeah, John, you had Joseph, you had a question. Shoot.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
It's
So,
fine.
okay, so I wanted to ask if I give my variable to be, let's say, let's sign in instead of no, if I give zero, does that work?
Sorry.
Instead of no, if I give let's sign in be equal to
Mm,
zero instead of no, does that work?
let's
You're
sign
giving me
in user
something.
equal to 0.
Mm,
This is a number, right?
okay.
So, but a situation where if you're doing count, you're counting, right? This is
Yeah.
zero. This is none. Zero is a data type. Zero is a value. You know that, right?
Yeah,
Zero can be like
I'm
an
okay.
initial. Yeah,
I
zero
get
is
it
a
now.
value. Yeah,
I
so
get
you
it now.
can, for this use case, you can put zero.
Yeah, okay, okay. But when I'm working with numbers, that can work.
Yeah, this is a number. So maybe a situation, maybe you're running a counter, it could be like, okay, the initial state of my counter is equal to 0. Okay, something attached to my counter now is a former value plus 1. Now counter is 2. Something happened again, former value of counter plus 1 again. Now 2, 3, like that. So when you're dealing with numbers, you can set like the initial value to be 0 and then you can work with it.
Thank you very much. It's clear.
Okay. Yeah, so any other question on data type and then on variables before we move to operators? All right. Okay, before we move to operators, there are some basic rules, right, in writing variables. We just want to quickly touch on. So if you're writing a variable, there's some rules you need to follow. So let me see. These are rules in naming your variables, basically. In naming your variables. So number one, right, which is maybe a very important one. Variable names can only contain letters numbers, underscore, and dollar sign. They can only contain. Yeah, so you can have a variable like this. So these are like examples. Your variable can start with an underscore. So this is an underscore. Your variable can start with a dollar sign, a dollar sign. Your variable can start with a letter, but a variable cannot start with a number, like something. Let's say we do something like this. Maybe you say let one, one age is equal to 40. You see, it has already started throwing an error to this. So basically, what I'm saying is this will throw an error because variable's name cannot start with a number. So variable name must. So this is like the rule 2. Variable name must begin with a letter, an underscore, or a dollar sign, but it can contain a number, just like in this case here, but it cannot begin with a number, but it can contain a number. It must begin with either a letter, as we have it here, or an underscore, as we have it here, or even a dollar sign. So all of this works, right? And then variable names are case sensitive. They are case sensitive. By case sensitive here, it means if you do something like this, let age equal to 40. This is different from let age equal to 30. These are different variables. They are case sensitive, right? So if you write maybe let capital age, capital A for age, and then small letter a for age, and then maybe down you're trying to maybe write an algorithm that checks if, yeah, down you're trying to write an algorithm. Let's say maybe what you had was they are both, and now come here and say, okay, let if age, no, you now say if age is equal to 30, you should do something. This is not going to run because this is different from this. Let me even remove this part of you see it. So these two are not the same. So basically, always put that at the back of your mind that variable names, they are case sensitive. Small letter A for age is different from capital letter E. These are different variables entirely. And then another very important one is that reserved words like JavaScript keywords cannot be used as your variable names. Reserved words. What are JavaScript reserved words? You can always check that. There are plenty. JS reserved words. And this, I will use MDN. Can search, see the pen. There's a shorter way of searching. We don't have to stress ourselves. List all the JS writing for JavaScript reserved words. So yeah, you have things like this: break case, catch class, const, continue, debugger. So basically, your variable name should not contain this. You can't come back and say something like you can't have something like let's see, you can see let const equal to 30. See that I already started flagging. So you can't do things like this. Const is a reserved word. Or use things like case. This is also a reserved word. Or use something like break. This is a reserved word. Or use something like function. This is a reserved word. So yeah, your variable was variable words should not contain those reserved words. Another very important one, again, I would like to add is your variable name should be descriptive and meaningful. This is it. So maybe you're working on a project with somebody and then you're doing things like let x is equal to um you, you pass in like a value, and then somebody comes to work on this project with you, what is x? And then maybe down a large code base, you're now saying X should do something. It doesn't make any sense, right? So you make sure that this is descriptive enough or it's meaningful, right? Or something like maybe come here and say, okay, let you have things like first, the same way we wrote the other one, first name. So uh you can use yeah different approach to write your variable name so that it makes sense. So first name, this is descriptive enough. Anybody looking at this, you know that, oh, you're saying that the first name is John. So you can, this approach of writing is what we are referring to as this is the snake case. See the way snake is snake. So like first name underscore first underscore name, all small letters. This is snake case. Or you can do the camel case. You know, the camel has like a hunchback. So you start with small letter for the first word, first, then the second word begins with like a capital word, capital letter. That's the camel case. Then the Pascal case, the first word begins with the capital letter. Second one also begins with the capital letter. But once the first word, once the two words, the first alphabet begins with the capital letter, that's Pascal case. If the first one begins with a small letter, that's the camel case. And then once you have the first word underscore, then second word, that's the snake case, right? Yeah, so most times if you're building with a team, the team always have like a description of like their coding format. Working with an organization, they'll have like their coding ethics, their coding format. Okay, for our own code base, we are using snake case. For our own code base, we are using camel case. For our own code base, what we use is Pascal case. So if you're joining the team, it means that all your variable declarations should be in accordance with that organization's coding standard, right? Those are the things sometimes we're hearing that they call it big words like IT governance in software engineering. And all. That's just it. They're just like coding standard every organization set, and they expect you to follow. Yeah, so those are like the rules. So another thing we quickly talk about is operators. Operators. So for operators is straightforward. We have used a lot of operators from the first day we started looking at JavaScript, right? We have operators, we have arithmetic operators, um, and then we have assignment operators. We also have, yeah, those are like the two core operators. We have arithmetic. For arithmetic operator, that's like the plus, your minus, your asterisk for multiplication, division, modulus. Modulus, this guy is for just to get your remainder, right? So addition, let's say you have A plus B. So additional, you're only saying A plus B, which will give us a 15. Subtraction, you only say, okay, let the value of this minus this, your subtraction. If it is multiplication, you're using the asterisk, division, forward slash, and then once you want to get the remainder after a division, you use the modulus. So this is the modulus. So these are just your arithmetic operators. And then for assignment operators, we have the equal to. The equal to, which we use it, we have been using equal to here to assign a value, right? Remember, it's an assignment. We're now saying A is equal to B. We do that every day, basically, right? Basic arithmetics. Then we have plus equal to. What this guy basically does is, let's say maybe let's look at this example. Let's look at this, for example. Let's see is equal to 10. And then when we say C plus or equal to 5, C plus equal to 5, or what it implies is pick the value of C and add 5 to it. and assign it back to C. It's here, right? C is equal to the initial value of C. What's the initial value of C? Is 10 plus this 5. Now the new value of C is 15. So if you're doing C minus 3, there are times where some of those commands are, you use them down in your project, right? Maybe once we start building something or and using these things, it's going to make more sense, right? So C minus equal to 3, it simply means carry the value of C, remove 3 from it, and assign it back to 3. The same thing is happening for multiplication. Pick the value of C, multiply it by a number, and assign it back to C. Same for division, and then same for modulus. So those are like the two operators we are dealing with here. We have arithmetic, and then we have the assignment operators. Basically, yeah, right? So maybe let me just run these examples so you could see. Then we'll look at it. Something is not right. Okay. First name has been declared. Let's go up to where we have first name. Okay. Don't need all this. Okay, I declared first name up here, and then I was trying to give first name down again. But yeah, let me just comment everything that's up here. Let me comment this one for assignment operator as well. So we'll just look at arithmetic operators only. So I run this guy. So for addition with 5, so we're dealing with 10 and 5. So 10 and 5, this is for addition. Addition will give us 15. 10 minus 5 for subtraction, we got the 5 for multiplication, 50 division for modulus, there's no remainder. So let me comment this one, and then let's look at the assignment operator. This is the assignment operator, and then I run this. You can see C is 10. So C, the new value of C now, when you do C plus 5, C plus equal 5, we said it's 15. You can see it here, 15. Then when you pick C, which initially is 10, and do minus 3, C, the new value of C is, sorry, remember after this operation, C became 15, right? So now what we are dealing with now is 15. So if you pick 15 minus 3, and we assign, that's 12 now. We assign it back to C, which means the new value of C at this stage is 12. C initially started from 10, it became 15. After the subtraction, C became 12. So then here now we are dealing with C to be 12. So you now say 12 multiplied by 2, 12 multiplied by 2, that's 24, and assign it back to C. So the new value of C after this operation is going to be 24. So now when we say 24, which is C divided by 4, and then we assign it back to C, that's 6, right? That's 24 divided by 4 will give us 6. So the new value of C now is 6. That's where we're seeing this guy, right? So we have 6 as C is 6. So 6 divided by 5, what is going to be the remainder? That's the modulus, is 1. So that's where we're now getting this one. So basically, that's like if you're performing arithmetic, these are like the operations you do under assignment operators, basically. For arithmetic operators, it's just our usual plus, times, minus, division, modulus, and all, right? Yeah. Then control. I'm not sure we can do control. Let me want to comment this guy. And this guy. Okay. So let's just do functions first. let's do functions first. So basically, functions, they are just a function. Basic is just like a block of code that solves a particular problem. Sometimes people use one function to do plenty things, but it's usually not advisable, right? It's best to have one function to perform one particular thing in your project, right? So it's just a block of code that anytime you want to do that particular thing, you just call that block of code. You don't have to rewrite. So basically, they are just reusable block of code. It's just like you have done what? You have prepared like noodles, right? Finish the preparation. You now stock them in your fridge. Anytime you want to eat, you just remove one of the parcel, microwave it, and then you eat it. Anytime you want to eat noodles again, remove it, microwave, and eat. So you just here, we should bring back that knowledge here. You just write like a block of code. Anytime you want to perform that thing that code was solving, you just call that function and then you solve that problem, right? For example, now um, let's say, okay, let me do this. Another very important thing you also need to know is to 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 write a function, it begins with the keyword called function, right? We could write a basic. Let me just write a function that accepts two numbers and then gives us their addition. So basically, what I would then want to now do is anytime I want to add two numbers, I'll just call that function and pass the two numbers inside, and then the function will give me the result. Right? So I could do something like function, let me name it as sum. Let me call this summation. Okay. Yeah. So I can call this summation, right? So this function here is a keyword. This summation, it's like almost the same thing as your variable name. You can give it any name you want to call it. You can call it sum of two numbers. So which approach of variable naming is this? Sum of two numbers. It's here. It's here. Did I remove that? Yeah, I think, but we've talked about it. This is the camel case, right? Whereby the first letter, first word starts with a small, second one caps, caps, caps. So this is camel case. So as me, I did something like sum of two numbers. So this is snake case, right? So this is snake keys. The initial one was camel, and then remember also have like the Pascal. So basically, what this function does is it accepts two parameters. So this is like a format of you writing function, a function that is expecting values. So you pass in. So now I want this function to collect two things. The function can collect one parameter, right? Or it can collect two. You see, you have like a comma followed by another one. And then, so basically what is using return keyword. The keyword is just like, look at these things as a normal English conversation with people. Return something, it means bring back. So what this function is doing is it collects two parameters. The values here are called parameters. If I hope I see is written as parameters. It collects two parameters and then return the summation of them. That's A plus B. So I can do something like console.log sum of. So I'm now saying console.log sum of 5 and 10. Okay, I think that was too much code to write at once. Let me go small. So now you understand what console.log means? Oh, please don't autocomplete. So you call the function, right? And or let me just do this. Let me do this way. I can say, okay, let result. Let me just say result. Let result is equal to. I call the function. This is the function. Remember, it says a block of code. You just call it, passing the two numbers you want to get the result inside, and then it will return the result. So I'm now saving that result inside this variable called result. But this is optional. You could just do that thing straight inside of your console dot log. You could just do this straight. I can just do this straight here. And then if I run it, you see it's returning 15. What did I pass? 5 and 10. So it returned 15. So anytime I pass in any, so now that I have this block of code, I can just only be reusing it. Okay, let's say I want to add 50 and 10. I just pass in 50 and 10, run it. See, it gave me 60. Let's say I have um let me just 500 and 1000. I just run it 1500. So anytime you just call the function, it just returns the value. You call it, it returns the value. So it's just a block of code. I'm not changing anything here. So this one is now solving my problem. If I want to have another function that does multiplication for me or greet somebody, for example, I can just say, okay, uh, I read this function and what it will return is hello followed by the name of the person. So anytime I want to greet anybody, I'll just call that function and pass in the name of that person. So let me comment this guy and the first one we wrote here. So this function accepts only one parameter and then it returns hello plus the name of the person, right? So I'm now saying greet John for me. So let's run this code and see. You see hello John. So anytime I call this function, any name I pass, I say, okay, greet Samuel for me. I run this function, hello Samuel. Greet Joseph for me. I run the function. So I don't have to every time, okay, hello Joseph, hello this person. I just have a function that does the job for me. All what I'm doing is I'll call that function, passing the parameter, the function gives me a result. So that's just what functions are, a block of reusable code. They are just a block of reusable code. There are different ways or different kinds of functions. We have um, declarative functions, like this is what we've been writing. These are declarative functions. We have a function called an arrow function. That's like the that's like the modern way of writing functions. Arrow function. See, here we are using this format. We started with the keyword, the name of the function, and if it's accepting parameters, just put this in, right? But there's another way you can write a function. We'll do something like const sum of two numbers, and then this is an arrow function. Const sum of two numbers is equal to, if it is accepting parameters, open and close bracket, passing the two parameters, they use this equal to and greater than sign, and this is what is returning. So I can as well call this function. Let's say I want to add two numbers, right? 500 and 1000 again. This is the function. Console.log, this is the function. I pass in 500 and 200. If I run this, still give me 1500. So this is an arrow function. This is a declarative function. You declare everything. But this is like the modern way of writing functions now. This is what you see on a day-to-day basis. You jump on a code base, maybe what you'll be seeing will be more of arrow functions. I hope that makes sense, right? Yeah. So yeah. I don't know if anybody have any question before we can proceed. Any question? Or we can then treat these two maybe in our next session. We can look at arrays and objects in our next session, and then we'll look at control flow. statement in our next session. So any question? Ah, was it too much? Guys, can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir. We are with you, sir.
Yeah, so I think to just run a quick recap, this is what we did today. We started off with variables. We say you can declare a variable using the keyword let, or you can use const, right? Let followed by the variable name and then the value, right? Variable name, the value is going to be holding. Variable, we say that just placeholders. See them more like boxes that you label and you put things inside, right? And we said we talked about the difference between const and let. We say const cannot be reassigned, but let can be reassigned. For example, we talked about city. You say city const, city is Abuja, it means throughout your code base, you are not going to change the value of city. But if you use let city, it means you can assign the value of city somewhere down in your code base, right? Then we talked about different data types. Different data types. We talked about the string. We said these are strings. You just use quotation, double quote. You can even use single quote, right? For strings. Then we talked about numbers. We talked about a number. Already we are used to numbers. And then we say you can use the JavaScript keyword called type of to know the data type of a variable, the data type that a variable is holding. For example, age here is holding 40. Is this thing a string or a number? The only way we can know is you can use type of followed by the variable name, and then this will return to you the variable type, right? We also talked about variable type, Boolean. Say Booleans are just true or false. Then we talked about variable type null, which means nothing, just nothingness, means nothing, right? Declared as null. You can intentionally declare a variable to be null so that maybe you could run a certain algorithm or a certain checks and then maybe reassign a value to it or perform a particular action. Then we also talked about undefined. For undefined, you can declare a variable without passing a value. At that point, it's being referred to as undefined. For example, you see here, we say, okay, let last name, but we didn't pass what last name is. So if you check the data type of last name, it's going to return undefined. We then went on to look at the rules in naming your variables. How can you give your variables names? You say your variable, we said that your variable names can only contain letters, numbers, underscore, and dollar sign, right? But the variable names must begin with a letter, an underscore, or a dollar sign. We gave a couple of examples to that as well. Then we said that variable names are also what? Case sensitive. If, for example, you declare a variable with small letter AGE, this is different from capital letter A and small letter GE. These are different variables. And that you should not use, do not use reserved words as your variable names. Reserved words like cons, let, break, function, keys, there are a lot of them out there. Then we said also you should make sure that your variable names are descriptive and they are meaningful so that you yourself, you don't go back to your code base and ask yourself what you were thinking when you were doing this or when you're writing this particular line of code. So you should make sure they are descriptive and then they are meaningful, right? Then we talked about operators. So for operators, we look at arithmetic operators and assignment operators. Arithmetic operators are our normal plus, two, plus, minus, divide, multiplication, asterisk, and all that. Those are our arithmetic operators. Then assignment operators, we have things like equal to, plus or equal to, minus or equal to, and all of modulus or equal to, right? So looked at a couple of examples here. Then we started with functions. We said there are two basic ways of writing functions. We talked about the declarative approach, and then we talked about there are three ways actually. There are three, but yeah, we discussed two. So we discussed the declarative approach, which is this, where it begins first with the keyword function, then followed by the name you want to give your function. If your function is accepting parameters, put it here. You put open and close bracket with parameters. If you put one variable, it means this is also a variable. Also take note, this is just a variable name. You can give this thing any name, right? You can give this thing any name. You're only trying to say that whatever you call and pass into this function, you're referring to that thing with this name, right? Yeah. So this is a declarative approach. We looked at an arrow function too. So for arrow function, it can be const, it can be let, but usually it's a const because you're not changing the name of the function. A const, you pass in the name of your function is equal to open and close bracket if it is accepting parameters. If it is not, you don't put anything inside. But if it is, you put in your variables followed by your equal to or greater than sign. This can also be written as this curly bracelet. You can have return A plus B. This is also correct. Most times, in fact, throughout the project, this is why we are learning. This is what maybe we'll be doing most of the time, right? Why it was like this, but this is also a great approach. It's a situation where maybe it's just a one-line function. There's no need putting curly bracelets and breaking things to have multiple lines. You could just keep it very clean, just like this. So you can call your function, pass in the values, and then that will be it. So yeah, basically those are the concepts we looked at today. So I don't know if there's any question. Tomorrow Sunday we can then maybe talk about uh we can talk about arrows and objects with control flows quickly, less under 30 minutes, and then look at what we intend to cover for tomorrow's session. Yeah, so that was like a quick recap. I don't know if there are any questions before we call it a day. Any question?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much. Please,
Oh, wow.
can you please? Hello, sir. Are you with me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Please, can you share more light on the return value? Return.
Okay, on return.
Yes.
So look at the function like a child that you send to go and buy something for you. His one job at that time is to go and buy, let's maybe ask him to go and buy a bottle of water. His only job at that instance is to go and bring back water, is to go and return with water. Does that part make sense? Don't
Yes,
think
sir.
about code. You send a guy, a young boy, go and buy water for me. His only job is, and then let's say maybe you give him money for one bottle. His only job at that time is to go and buy one bottle. He cannot buy two bottles. because the money you gave him was meant for just one bottle. So he's going to buy just one. And you are not also to expect two because you gave him money for one. That's how function works. So basically, you write a function that let me use our function that const let me see const add, for example, right? Const add is equal to number one comma number two, sorry, two and one. So this is my function of this. So this is my function. I've written a function. Number one, so I've given it a name called add. Basically, what I want this boy to do for me now is to, anytime I give him two numbers, I want him to be adding numbers for me. And the number I want him to be adding just two numbers. If I want him to be adding three numbers, it means I'm going to pass number three. So I'm only telling him that what I'm going to give you is three numbers. If I stop at number two, it means what I'm telling him, what I'm going to be giving you is two numbers. If I say, okay, number one, it means what I want to be giving you is only one number, right? But I want to be giving him two numbers, right? So anytime I give you two numbers, your only job is to return number one plus number two. So anytime I call this guy, I say, okay, console.log add 30 and his job is to return, to bring back. So basically, return is like what that guy is going to bring back from the
Okay.
from. So it's just what is going to bring back. So this function, what this function is going to bring back is the first number I'll pass in plus the second number I'll pass in. So if I run this function, it should give me 110.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Ah,
Any
Thank,
question?
yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Another question. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I think that'll be all for today. I'll try to make the recordings available as well. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.